Movie romances have always promised us magic. A kiss in the rain, a long-lost letter, a surprise at the airport. They ask us to believe that somewhere out there is a perfect person, and all we need is the right kind of chaos to find them. Sometimes that chaos is charming, an interrupted wedding, or the third act, misunderstanding, where they go apart and realize that they were made for each other. But if you sit with these stories long enough, maybe take off the heart-shaped glasses, you start to see something more troubling beneath the surface. See, rom-coms don't just reflect how we love, they shape it. They show us how men pursue women, when to confess their love, and when to stay and fight for your love. These movies have trained generations to think that persistence is romance, dishonesty is charm, and love is something you earn through tricks and not the truth. Let's start with one of the most iconic examples. Pretty Woman. This story is painted as a fairy tale, an unlikely couple finding love across class lines, but strip away the glamour, and it's a billionaire essentially buying a woman's time, dignity, and presence. Julia Roberts' character doesn't just fall for him, she changes for him, softens for him, becomes his project. He saves her from sex work, but she gets to be the dream girl as long as she plays along. Think about the Princess Diaries, Grease, and She's All That. At their core is the same idea that a woman is lovable once she's been cleaned up, seen correctly through the eyes of society, usually by a man who knows better. This taps into a long-standing male fantasy of being the woman's creator. The heroine is quirky, messy, or broken, and the man is the one who fixes her by dressing her differently, showing her how to live, or simply by loving her hard enough. On the surface, it looks sweet, but what it really says is that you're not enough as you are, that your worth is tied to your desirability and your willingness to be reshaped. And when women resist, that's just another trope waiting to be flipped. She says no, don't worry, because she doesn't really mean it. Try again, try louder, try with a boombox or a flash mob. In rom-com logic, persistence is the proof of love. But in real life, that same behavior could be seen as harassment. Think about that famous scene in Love Actually, where a man shows up at the door of his best friend's wife and confesses his love for her using cue cards. But what really happens? He's been obsessively filming her at her own wedding. He makes her lie to her husband. He ambushes her outside of her home while she's been harboring a crush in secret. Is that not a boundary violation? But the movie sells it as endearing because he's hot. In movie logic, attractive people can do things no one else could get away with. If Ryan Gosling threatens to kill himself unless you go out with him, well, that's tragic romance. If a stranger did that to you in real life, that would be deeply disturbing. If Gosling writes you letters for a year, it's devotion. But if a less attractive man did the same, we'd call it stalking. Romantic movies depend on a kind of selective moral blindness. Grand gestures are only grand if we like the person doing them, and problematic behavior is excused over and over if it leads to a kiss by the final scene. In movies like Groundhog Day or 51 Dates, takes this even further. Both stories center around men who manipulate women into falling for them again and again. One because she has memory loss, and the other because time is repeating. Both women are stuck, unaware, and without true agency. But it's fine as long as these men are framed as sweet, patient, and charming, because the stories insist that eventually love makes it all okay. And this is where the nice guy trope lives. It's the idea that if a man is kind enough, persistent enough, good enough, then he deserves the woman, whether or not she is actually interested. It tells men that love is a prize to win and not a connection to build. It tells women that resistance is just part of the game. You're just being hard to get. That no doesn't mean no, it just means not yet. And then there's the cool girl myth. The one Gone Girl did so well. The cool girl is hot, she's low maintenance. She's into burgers and beers, she never nags, never needs. She's everything a man wants and nothing makes her inconvenient. She doesn't just exist in thrillers, she's everywhere in romantic comedies. She's the dream girl who doesn't demand too much. The woman who's not like the other girls. The one who validates the male fantasy, who never makes things hard. Even more insidious is the manic pixie dream girl. She's quirky, she's unpredictable. A woman who exists only to shake a sad man out of his funk. These women don't have inner lives or goals. They exist solely to inspire change in the male protagonist. And when they've served that purpose, they vanish, or worse, settle down into someone else entirely. All of this contributes to a dangerous idea that women are not people, but puzzles. That men have to just figure them out, crack the code, say the right words, wear the right outfits, and they will be rewarded with love. That love isn't a connection, it's conquest. And it's not just men who suffer from these scripts. Women learn to perform, to wait, to mold themselves into the right version of a partner. If you're too strong, you have to soften. If you're ambitious, then learn to compromise. Too independent, time to be tamed. In 10 Things I Hate About You, the heroine begins as sharp, self-assured, and unwilling to play by traditional rules. But by the end, she's softened, she cries, she apologizes for being hard to love, and that's when she gets the guy. This is the underlying message of so many romantic films, that love isn't about being loved as you are, but it's about becoming lovable. And love itself is the reward for changing. These films rarely show what happens after the credits roll. What happens when the airport chase is over, when the wedding is done. Most don't bother, because romance movies aren't actually about love. They're about getting love, the chase, the transformation, the prize. And if you don't get the prize, then you become the villain, the ex-girlfriend, the cold wife, the woman who dared to put up boundaries, who said no and she meant it. She's the obstacle. She's the problem. She's the thing that's standing in the way of true love. And the story must remove her. You become the crazy ex-girlfriend, the one who couldn't let go, the one who wanted too much, the one who loved in the wrong way, with too much intensity or too much anger. You go from being the heroine to being a punchline. And let's not start with the racial dynamics. In most mainstream romances, people of color exist only on the sidelines as best friends, comic relief. The true love stories are still overwhelmingly white, and the only diversity is token. And it rarely gets the big dramatic kiss. Romantic comedies pretend to be harmless and just fluff and fun, but they're not. They shape the way we see ourselves in each other. They give us templates of what love should look like and what we should tolerate in the name of it. They teach us that manipulation is okay if it comes from someone hot, that love means fixing someone, that women should wait to be chosen and men should chase what they want no matter what. And they teach us that once you get the happy ending, everything that happened before it, every lie, every trick, every violation was worth it, because now you're in love and that's all that matters. But in the real world, love is not a movie montage. It's not something that you earn through manipulation or some sort of cleverness or persistence. It's a practice, a choice, a mutual recognition. So maybe it's time we let go of the fantasies, not the idea of love itself, but the stories that taught us to see it through the wrong lens. Maybe if we stop measuring romance by the size of the gesture or how dramatic the confession is, or whether someone ran through an airport to get there, maybe we start asking different questions. How do you show up for each other when things are hard? Do you respect your partner? Do they feel safe being who they are when they're with you? Because love is worth celebrating. It's still worth to tell stories about. But let's tell better stories, where love isn't a game to win, but a space to grow in. That's it for today. If you love this kind of content, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment about which part you relate to the most. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye!